Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's video is on Craig's Landcruising album. So this is actually my first album. Just want to make sure this is still recording while I switch over to my notes. Okay, good. This is my first video doing a little bit more in-depth dive on actually an album and actually reviewing it and giving it a score. And for the most part, going by track. Just so you know, and I'll probably need to do a video on how I score my records, but I generally score songs from 1 to 5 stars, and there's quarter increments in there. So something can have a 2.25 star song. And then when it comes to an album, I rate it from 1 to 100. So, an album could have a score of like 83 or something like that. And every notch in my album score, from 1 to 2 or 20 to 30, 40, 50, has a certain cutoff point, and then inside those brackets, those 9 or 10 increments, like from 70 to 79, has an importance to it as well. So I get very granular when it comes to my reviews on an album as a whole. I have a lot of music, and I need to be exact. I can't just give an album a 4 out of 5 stars or an 8.5 out of 10 stars. I have to be a little bit more exact because I have a lot of music, and eventually someday I'd like to put some in categories and rank some of the, so I can kind of rank some of the best albums I've ever heard and in my journey through electronic music, and kind of be able to rank them. But when it comes to songs, I don't want to be that exact. I'm okay with it's, technically there's still if I'm doing quarter reviews instead of a 5, that's still 20 increments. So it's still more exact than a 1 through 5, but I don't want to get too crazy on doing songs, but that's how I do them. When it comes to my songs ranking, if I rank something a 2 out of 5, you might think I hate it, but this is stuff that I have generally, so I rate a little harder. Generally, a one is bad, for sure, but a 2 isn't necessarily horrible. It's just not something that kind of sticks out in my mind. And then when you kind of get to 3 is very good. 4 is excellent. 5 is classic. So it gets it starts out good. Like a 1, I could still have a track that's a 1 and have it in my collection. I may not play it a lot, but it's a song that's on a record that I just don't necessarily play it, but I don't hate it. Now, if I did the same scale on music that I didn't have, or popular music or stuff like that, then yeah, one out of 5 would be a harsh rating. But this is kind of on music that I have, so the ratings are a little bit, forgiven as far as as far as it being an entry level point of being okay, right? So that's kind of how my ratings go. So today's video, I'm reviewing Landcruising, which came out in 1995. It was reissued. Craig reissued it, or actually sort of redid the album 10 years later, and this is on Rush Hour Records, and basically he renamed it, called the album formerly known as, and again, that's excuse me for a second, but that's Landcruising, and so he sort of wanted to he felt like the album was a little dated, but he really liked it, and he wanted to update it, and that became this release here. So looking at my notes, I want to go song by song here. So this Landcruiser, this is the original record here. This came out on, I'm not sure which label this came out on. It says Warner Brothers. May 8th, 1995. This is the vinyl version. I do have Again, I do have the reissue down there. I have it on CD as well, somewhere in here. I couldn't find it as well, but I do have the original CD as well. I would probably have to say I like this album a little bit better than the follow-up album. I feel like it's a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more tighter, and the highs are a little bit higher and the lows aren't as low. So I think of Carl Craig's this is his best album in my opinion. The first song is called "Mind of a Machine," and bear with me while I read my notes because I think when I do my reviews, if I did a review on Violator by Depeche Mode, of course I would know the names and be able to speak to the songs right off the top of my head. But when the songs are instrumental songs, I generally put some notes down to kind of remember which one it is, and that kind of helps me remember because it's hard for me to remember names of tracks when they're instrumentals. Like I have a really good memory, I think, like for years, and I feel like I have a lot of good memory, like things that I do to keep my memory fresh, like exercises and games that I play on my phone to help me keep my memory strong. Right, I think my memory is one of the most important things I think. And when you think about your memories in your childhood and memories of music and information and knowledge and things like that, is that everything's tied around your memory. So I really try to keep my memory fresh, and I do. I don't necessarily play mindless games. A lot of people like do mindless games of this, and maybe they're not mindless, but I do ones that are tied around memory. So it's like either statistics or sports statistics or numbers or dates or most of them are statistics, but also a lot of them are years and music and things like that. And if somebody throws out a song, I'll like Policy of Truth, I'll be like, okay, it came out in August of 1990. It was the third single from Violator album. It went to top 20 in America, I think number 12 in America. There's the beatbox remix, the Pavlos Dub remix, the Transcendental remix, and there's one other remix that I'm remembering, I'm forgetting, and then Khaled's the B-side to it. So I mean, those are just, I try to think of like a song like that, and then kind of, okay, what was I doing in 1990? Okay, I was 14 years old. That was in between my freshman and sophomore year. Yeah, I saw a Depeche Mode in concert that year, Dodger Stadium. So almost I try to keep all those memories fresh and tie them to either music or statistics or something like that. So to keep my memory fresh. So one of the things I'm not great at is remembering instrumental songs, names of techno and electronic music. A lot of times I don't necessarily. Not as much as when I read an album. Like when I'm listening to an album, I do look at the artwork a lot, but I don't always remember the song titles. So I'm just not good at that. So if I do an album review, I'm probably going to be looking at the notes unless it's a band that I know the album back and forth. Even though I know this album really good, it's just I don't know by the names. So the first track, "Mind of a Machine." I put down these notes. It's a really nice techno opener, and this is kind of what I meant about when I was talking about my Carl Craig video, the way he does his melodies. The Mind of a Machine is a perfect example of how he sort of has this Tangerine Dream like sequenced kind of open melody with the bass line, and it's kind of an overarching melody, and a lot of people say Detroit is very dystopian and post-apocalyptic sound, and that's used a lot and probably overused, but in this particular track, Mind of a Machine, it's ideal. And that goes to the title of the track, right? Mind of a Machine. And that ties to the sci-fi nature of storytelling nature and of Detroit music and Detroit techno. It has that kind of storyboard of futuristic kind of music, and the end of the world has happened. There's just kind of that kind of visual of that type of where this music would be played, and not even played, but it's just kind of like a soundtrack for Detroit music. And Mind and Machine is a perfect example. I really think the strings are amazing on it. They don't hold back. They just go to that kind of Tangerine Dream feel, and it's just, this album is so, this song is so layered. It's layered so well. It's a great example of how techno is not really dance music. It's really music for your mind, music for your soul, music for your emotions, right? It's not necessarily dance music. The guitar at the end is creative, and that's kind of the difference between that version and what he updated. He kind of lost that. Probably there's 2 tracks he kind of shortened down, and this is one of them by like a couple minutes, and kind of took off the guitar at the end. It does kind of go on a little bit long the last 3 minutes, and that's kind of why I kind of cut it short in the new version. I like the new version a little bit better, but I have to be honest. I'm rating this album as it was as a whole, as it was originally released. So I have it 3 1/4 star out of 5 stars. This track, Mind and Machine. Going on to a science fiction. This is a single from the album. I showed in the other video, but this is the actual single. The drums are really creative. The sounds, nice melody. I don't like the version on the album as much as the single versions. I have to be honest. I gave it 2 3/4 stars, so almost a 3. Still good, still very good, but the again, the remix version I think is so much stronger, and the version on here is really tightened up. Those two tracks, and again, it took like about 2 minutes off the track for this version as well. Those two differences in change, those are the two, in my opinion, those are the 2 main differences between the old album and the new one, and the reissue 10 years later. Sure, they're a little bit more polished, and there might be a little bit more attention to certain things, but as far as like the other tracks, these 2 stand out the most. Is probably the differences, cutting 2 to 3 minutes off, losing the guitar. Science fiction also sort of has a little bit of a minimalism at the end that it kind of loses. My rating on this album would probably be a little bit better if they were the original versions, and I kind of combined the best of both. And I think this album would be even better, but I don't want to do that. That's kind of like taking the album versions and then gathering up all the remixes, and then putting the best of and be like, okay, well, I like this remix, I like this better. No, this is how the album is produced. I want to rate the album as it was. Maybe I could rate this album another time or differently. But yeah, I want to rate it as it was. And then you have the 3rd track, which is A Wonderful Life. This is an excellent melody, great balance of sounds. It's really really easygoing and ambient, but still has remnants of a beat happening. The pads are really nice. This is a classic track. I shouldn't say classic because that's probably in my score of 5, but I really love this track. I got it at 3 3/4, almost at that 4 star. Like 4 star to me on name is like excellent song. I'm not going to be giving that many 4s. I don't give out that many 4s and 4 1/4, 4 1/2, and that's the amazing thing about this album is you'll see I have a couple 4s coming up, which is really rare for one album to have multiple 4s. So just under the 4, 3 3/4, Wonderful Life, but the best track so far on the album. Then the 4th track is Technology. It's a unique rhythm, post-apocalyptic, futuristic. The added layers of the melodies and the rhythms is just pure Detroit beauty. Just like it's quintessential Detroit techno. It has some dramatic parts in the middle. Towards the end, the beat comes back. I got this at 4 1/4 stars. Best track of the album so far. Just an amazing song. Track number 5 is They Were. It's a little frantic. It's kind of craft work. Like, it's not bad. It's not great. It's a decent groove. It grows on you a little bit, but I don't know if I don't know if I'm being a little bit harsh on it. Kind of like one of the other tracks coming up because of what's the other songs that are around it, but This one doesn't really kind of hit that level of most of the songs on this album. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. Um, then you have Landcruising, which is just track number 6. It was the title track of the album. Just amazing, magical. I got just the word beautiful. And I just put, how can one song have so much greatness going on? I put that in. I put that to describe it. I have it at 4.5 stars. So super strong track, just amazing. Um, just a landmark album, landmark song. I mean, a few of these tracks, if I had to make like a top 10 all time Carl Craig tracks, um, I almost feel like I have to put his remixes in there too, but still, this album would probably have 3, if not maybe 4 songs in the top 10 of what he made. That's how amazing this album is. Track 7 is Einbahn. It's a big frantic, not bad, not great. Again, I might be a little bit hard on this because it's got so much other great tracks around it, but I got it at 2 3/4 stars. Track number 8, One Day Soon. The steel sounds are just underlying the beautiful melody is just amazing. The melody's not shy too. It's just out there and really strong. I got this at 4.5 stars, so another amazing score for a song. Um, I mean, what can you say? One Day Soon is just amazing. Soon. It's really hard to pick a favorite between these 3 tracks, and the last one is the last track called Home Entertainment, which I also gave a 4.5 star. It's heavily sequenced, W elements. It's got a nice grit, nice powerful, great way to end the album. 4.5 stars. So I got 3 tracks at 4.5 stars and 1 at 4 1/4. It is so rare for an album to have 4 tracks over a 4-star rating in it. I mean, I'm sure once I do a lot of techno albums that will stick out even more so than I think about now. But yeah, I mean, overall, I give this album an 88 out of 100. Again, it's really rare to have 4 tracks that have 4 stars on it, and there's one that is 3 and there's one in track Wonderful Life has 3 3/4 stars. So I almost have 5 tracks that are out of 9 that are 4-star and above. It's just an amazing album. Unfortunately, if the Mind of Machine and Science Fiction were the better versions that were on here, this would probably get into the 90s and just be an all-time classic. It is so close, though. It's just there's 2 ways to look at it. I think some people who would say the guitar of the Mind Machine at the end there, and how Science Fiction goes on a little bit longer at the end, kind of lend itself to the original appeal of it. But I do like the versions, the updated versions a little bit better, and I think if those were on it versus the original, again, I'd probably have to say this would be above a 90. You think of 9 tracks of being a little short on length, maybe that would kind of hurt it a little bit, but it is pushing 57 minutes, so the tracks are long, so that kind of makes up for it. I don't mind if there's 3 tracks and it's a techno album that's 60 minutes long, as long as it's good. But yeah, if Science Fiction and Mind of Machine versions were on there, I'd be pushing them. I'd be pushing 9s for sure. But overall, just a great album. I think it's Carl Craig's best one. Yeah, it's just an amazing album. Landcruising, amazing album. This is. I mean, this is probably. Oh man, I mean, this being all these songs on one album, this might be like one of the best Detroit techno albums of all time. I mean, it's hard not to put. I would imagine this is easily in the top 10 all time Detroit techno, and I don't mean just songs too. I mean like actual albums, like you would rank Kraftwerk, Computer World, and Man Machine and things like that, like a full album that has this much good work on it, and it all came on this one. It's not like this was pieced on this one and it's sort of a compilation. You took this track, like this is all made within that year. Just an amazing album. Yeah, from Craig, amazing. Landcruising. I'm curious what your thoughts are and what your rankings are on any of these tracks or the album as a whole. Again, I gave it an 88 out of 100, which is super strong. Alright, thanks so much for watching today's video on Craig's Landcruising.